Hi, it's Anne-Marie from Charmed Live Therapy again. I did a Blake Lively video yesterday, and now I think I just kind of feel like I should touch on what more I've come across on YouTube since yesterday. Please do hit like and subscribe if you enjoy watching this kind of content. Yeah, it's about the subpoena now that has kind of been unearthed. We've been looking for this subpoena for a little while as to how Stephanie Jones came to give Jennifer Abel's phone and the text mess or just the text messages on it to Blake Lively's camp, Blake Lively's PR person, Leslie Sloan, whoever it was, because as the law case has progressed, obviously it's come to light that, well, you can't just give somebody's private text messages to somebody else. There has to have been a subpoena for it to be legal or to be able to be presented as part of the case. So everybody has been wildly looking for this subpoena. And of course the question has come up, well, a subpoena has to be connected to a lawsuit. You can't just have a subpoena for no reason. You know, there has to be cause. So that's what people have been looking for, and it seems it has been discovered now. So obviously people have been unpacking this information with glee, and what it seems like was I watched a video on a lady called Without a Crystal Ball here on YouTube and various others, that this kind of was attached to a case that was kind of lodged in late September of 2024, and it was kind of, so, you know, Van Zandt, I believe, that is a company that is Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively's, but like a defunct company, it would seem, that kind of launched this legal case against unnamed defendants. I think they call them does, you know, just like you would a dead body that showed up that wasn't identified. So various does, they lodged this complaint against various does, really for ruining their business or for slandering them, kind of, or causing them to lose money, but not really clarifying how or who or anything like that. So everybody's kind of picking over this, thinking, well, this is really, really interesting because, you know, Blake Lively did not file her lawsuit or her civil rights dispute claim, whatever it was, until, what was it, December 20th, 2024. So what it would seem this subpoena is about when Ryan and Blake wanted Wayfarer and Justin to apologise and take accountability for all of the negative press that Blake received. But all of that negative press was related to how she handled the marketing of It Ends With Us and how she brought in her alcohol brand and her hair brand and refused to really talk about domestic violence, that wanted to promote it as a big, beautiful summer blockbuster movie, grab your friends, wear your florals. Meanwhile, all the victims of sexual harassment, sexual violence were saying, hang on a minute, we don't really want to glorify this thing or add alcohol into the mix. You know, that's kind of the worst thing that you can do, is kind of advertise alcohol in connection with a movie about DV. So it was that thing of everybody went trawling for every time Blake Lively had seemed to be inappropriate or mean or rude or cruel or whatever it was. But then when it all came out, that is at that point when Blake and Ryan and their team and whoever said, look, you have to take accountability for all of this. And this kind of point was really the final straw, in a way, for Justin and his team prior to her lodging sexual harassment claim against him. This kind of was like his line in the sand, because it's like, look, I've taken a lot, I've put up with a lot, I've swallowed a lot. I'm not going to take accountability for your negative press that stem from your words and your actions and your behaviours. We do not need to take accountability for that. There's no way we're going to. And that, during that same interaction, was when Lively's camp said, if you do not do this, then the gloves will come off. And this is what's happened, is that then this, whatever has gone off, and this subpoena is part of it, and managing to get this information from Jen Abel, who at that point was moving away from Steph Jones and was going to work for Baldoni separately and all of that, that Steph Jones, who was Jen Abel's boss, got access to those text messages and through one way or another made sure they landed in Blake Lively's camp. And this subpoena was part of that. But with this date of September is clearly showing that, this plan was in orchestration early on, and it had very little to do with SH as well, because in this subpoena there's no mention of SH and early days Steph Jones, and that their argument was that, they only complied and gave over this information because it was related to an SH complaint and that Blake was being retaliated against. So that's the terms on which they provided the information, or that's what they've claimed. But when you look at the context of this subpoena, there's nothing to do with SH in it. It is simply about, you've caused damage to my reputation and in turn my business. You've said things that I don't like, things that I deem to be private, a whole list of things, but no kind of person who is supposedly responsible, just this list of does that. And the thing is that it's likely that complaint was never going to be tweaked, never going to be changed, never going to be updated with names. And actually, I believe from what I've heard that the complaint or the lawsuit, whatever you want to call it, this straw lawsuit potentially, was actually withdrawn before Blake's CRD complaint was filed, and she turned it into something about SH and retaliation and all of the rest of it, and the magical illusory defamation and all of that, the astroturfing and all of the rest of it. So what it's looking like is that subpoena, that fake lawsuit by Van Zandt, whoever they are, Blake and Lively's company, to this mysterious does as the defendants, that disappeared before this current lawsuit that we're dealing with. So it does actually look like that was just a straw subpoena in order to, get that information from Stephanie Jones and have some kind of backup that says that was okay to do that. But, it's all false really, isn't it? Because we know literally probably Stephanie Jones either just emailed those texts across, gave them the phone or whatever. It was like, here you have it, you deal with it, but I'm going to have something to cover my back. That's the kind of feeling allegedly of what's happened. But what I want to bring it back to, which might annoy some people, is, I do follow I'm kind of almost halfway through A Course in Miracles at this point, and it's all very much about what will happen when you live your life from a form of ego and of having no accountability for your own actions, and seeing fear and grievance and judgment everywhere and somebody else being to blame. What you project onto others is actually what you're doing to yourself. And I think we're seeing across the board that Blake Lively has a habit of blaming other people for things that she has done. If you look at a lot of Blake Lively's claims, there's actual physical documented evidence that she's been the one that has done those things. The one that's been defaming seems to have definitely been Blake and Ryan at this point. There's no evidence that Justin Baldoni was defaming her, yet she claims that she's the one that's been defamed. And this is it, you see, when you don't deal with your own stuff, you will project it onto other people and you will accuse them of having it, and you will see grievances everywhere you will look, and you will see people in the wrong everywhere you will look, and you will see people that have to apologise to you everywhere that you look, because that's kind of what it boils down to. That it's like we said before, many people that comment on this, that there would have been no lawsuit if she hadn't have been so aggrieved at how people perceived her, and then he wouldn't accept accountability for it. Baldoni and his company, he refused to accept accountability for Blake's negative press. He refused to accept that. So she says, right, that's it, then I have to take it further and I'm going to make sure I bring you down. Next thing, he's got an SH claim against him. That literally is what it boils down to, that Blake Lively could not handle how the public perceived her own actions, her own behaviours. Somebody else had to be responsible for that. And when they wouldn't take accountability for that, then this SH claim came out of nowhere. And that is the sum total of it, in a way, is that she just couldn't handle being in the wrong, or examining her own behaviour and thinking, have I been the asshole? As she said in that Forbes interview. In that Forbes interview, she famously talks about, you know, going in as an actress and pulling the rug out from under directors by suddenly saying, no, I need to tweak with the script, I need to do something with the costume, I need to tell you how to direct it, how to light it, how to do this, that and the other. I need authorship. And she talked about it in terms of a rug pull, didn't she? And you know, sometimes she would question, am I the asshole? Am I this? And the thing is, yeah, you know, if you go in and try and take authorship of somebody else's creative vision, you are the asshole, really. But it's like, sometimes you have to sit with this idea that you are being an asshole, and you have to take it on board, and you have to take it on the chin, and you might have to apologise for your behaviour. Or, you know, if at that point, when all that negative press was out, and she'd, you know, that Kirsty Floor interview came out and it made her look bad and all of the rest of it, all she literally had to come to do was have her PR team come up with a statement, go do a quick live, just say, I'm sorry it's all been, you know, misconstrued. I never meant for this, I never meant for that. I'm sorry if you feel like the marketing hasn't reflected the DV story of the film. If she'd just come out and been a bit genuine and a bit empathetic and a bit the rest of it, everybody would have just said, oh, that's great, you know, really great that you're taking accountability. You know, it would have gone away. But when this is the thing of A Course in Miracles, when you see attack everywhere, when you feel like you're being attacked, and you're never being attacked unless you allow yourself to be attacked, unless it's like you can't be rejected unless you allow other people to reject you, unless you allow that to penetrate you, who you are. Because the truth is, we are all universally connected. We are all one hive mind, and the rest of it, what affects one travels across and affects somebody else, you know, every tiny action you take. So you can't be rejected, you can't be out of the pack unless you accept for yourself that you are being rejected, that you're the loner, the outsider, you're the one that's done wrong to. And that's kind of what she's done. She's kind of taken all of this not getting her own way and not being perceived the right way and not just having the power that she wants to have because she has the right to have it just by dint of saying that she has the right to have it. She's taken offence to butting up against people who've said, enough, you've taken enough off us, we're not doing this as well. And she's instantly gone, well, I don't like that, because I get to have my own way. I get to have what I want, do what I want, cause whatever trouble I want. And she's seen attack, and she's seen grievances, and she's seen people judging her, and she hasn't liked that. She doesn't want to accept it, but it's all stuff that she's projecting from herself. It's all self-generated. And this is what we do as human beings. We take affront to things. We think people owe us something, apologies, payback, financial compensation, because we should be right. We should get our own way. People shouldn't be doing these things to us. And we see attack everywhere. We see grievances everywhere. And that is why I keep driving home this point, because you've got Justin there, who literally is just having to be in a lawsuit in order to save his life, because he's got no choice, because he's been accused of SH. And if that was to be deemed as true by law or whoever, then that's his career over. It's his dream of his creative dreams, and his goals and his ambitions are just gone, just like that. So he's been put in a position of having no choice but to fight it. And you can tell he has no choice, because he would have done this much sooner if he had have been a vindictive person. He'd have cut it off much higher up the, you know, much earlier in the food chain, or whatever you want to call it. But he's taken it and taken it and taken it and taken it until she put him in a position where he was forced to do something about it because it meant his livelihood if he didn't do something about it. And she can't see that she has done this to herself, that there was not a time when he was going to do this to her until he absolutely had to. That seems to be the truth of it right now, with the evidence that we have. And that's kind of what's sad about it all, really, is that all of it was unnecessary, and all of the hurt it's caused, and the upset, and the public vilification and humiliation, and the length and the money and all of the rest of it. It was all so avoidable if there'd been an ounce of accountability for what she'd done from the start of her involvement in this movie, and the way she tinkered and manipulated and extorted and all of the rest of it, allegedly, with the information that we have right now. And that is kind of what is sad, and what we kind of need to look at, the things we do to ourselves as human beings because somebody else has to be to blame for something, or somebody else has to be responsible for what we've done, or has to be responsible for facilitating our lives, or somebody else just has to be dragged into it because we're hurting so much. That is what we tend to do as human beings when we live as a body and see other people as attacking us, attacking our well-being, attacking our body, when we insist on not living as if we are all coming from a place of love and having a shared connection, and we should be interacting with each other in a loving and supportive way. But we get into this ego battle of who's right, who's wrong, who needs to be attacked, who needs to be vilified, who needs to be, ground into oblivion, in the words of Brian Friedman. And I think we're feeling now. I think there's a lot probably that Justin Baldoni's team are not telling us that they do have in terms of evidence. I think they were probably very much aware of this subpoena for a long time, I would imagine, but they're just not saying it because I think they're playing a careful game. I actually think they're kind of giving them, the other side, quite a lot of leeway to kind of say, actually, I don't think we can go forward with this. I think they're kind of holding it in abeyance and seeing how it all plays out. I don't really think there's a maliciousness there. I know he has said, kind of, Brian Friedman, about, suing her into oblivion and that, but I really don't think that's Justin's perspective, Justin Baldoni's perspective. I don't think it's ever been his perspective. I don't think he's ever wanted to harm her. He's just wanted a solution to it, an end to it, I think, that didn't drive him into the ground, I don't for 1 minute believe he ever wanted this outcome and to be in this fight and this battle. But when you live from an ego-related perspective, you're always looking for a fight, because your ego likes a fight. It likes people who are right and people who are wrong, and your ego will tell you that you are right and they are wrong. And if you listen to that for long and long enough, nobody else is right but you. And it doesn't matter what the truth is. It doesn't matter what the evidence says. You will tell yourself that you're still right and everybody else is wrong. And that, unfortunately, seems to be what is happening. And I'm still in this position of trying not to see baddies and goodies, because that's all judgment, and we don't want to be judging. You know what I mean? We kind of have to look beyond and think, because my feeling is we come down here as human beings to play out these weird scenarios and try and learn something from it, and we should all be connecting with the higher version of ourselves and thinking, revisiting some of your actions and thinking, was I wrong there? Did I hurt somebody? Did I say the wrong thing at the wrong time? Is this worth fighting for? Is it worth causing all the pain it's going to cause? Blah, blah, blah. What can I change? What can I do? How can I do something more loving, accepting? That's what we should be doing. And we just, we often just don't. We get into these fights that are pointless. All of this is so pointless, and so much pain and so much loss of reputation and all of the rest of it, all for nothing. you know, and it's a pattern of behavior. You know, when you have that pattern of behavior that you're always right, nobody else is right, other people's feelings and needs don't need to be met, then sooner or later, somewhere down the line, whether you want to call it karma or whatever, sooner or later that you'll get hit by a brick. You'll be hit by that immovable object that shines a light up at you and says, are you going to change your behavior? Are you going to have some accountability here? I think that's what's happening. I think that's what we're seeing, and it's all being sensationalized, unfortunately, too. But it is interesting in these terms of what are we believing from the media? What are we believing from our politicians? Mainstream media is just being so bland in terms of this whole thing. If you want the real skinny, you need to be on YouTube and watching certain people over there, because they're really digging out the real information. And, you know, through all of this, it's raised all these questions about what can I learn from this, about what is being fed to me and what I'm absorbing and what I'm believing as true and what I'm validating, what I'm elevating, and all of the rest of it. You know, it's like, what can I believe that is real? You know, and what you can believe is real is your own mind, and analysing your own thoughts and behaviours, and analysing what matters in this life. And what's worth fighting for in this life, if you like. You know, it's staggering to me that it's taken like a celebrity media drama to cause all of this questioning. I just find it all very, very interesting, without making anybody bad or good or anything. It's like let's analyse what we're doing to ourselves and doing to each other. Let's get some actual value out of this whole situation by looking at the bigger picture and looking at what people do to themselves. So I hope that was interesting. Please do consider liking, subscribing, sharing. There are always links to free resources in the description of my videos. I'd really appreciate your support. I'm a single business owner, a rapid transformational therapy practitioner, and a hypnotherapist of various methodologies. I work on transforming people's lives and their perceptions about themselves every day. But yeah, please do check out the description. Like, subscribe, share, go grab yourself some free resources, including a free hypnotherapy audio, if that sounds of interest to you. And thank you for watching and staying to the end. I'll see you later.